picking on the theme of four, right, at SABIC, there are four things that we are working on from a sustainability standpoint. So the first is absolutely reducing the carbon footprint that we have. The chemical industry is very energy intensive, so there's a significant carbon footprint that comes from that. The second piece is we are a large volume plastics producer, and I'm sure all of you have heard the press around the end of life challenges that are associated. The third piece is because our products many times are a B2B sort of a solution, how do we make our customers more sustainable through products that we make, right? So that's novel products that help the value chain. And the fourth one is last year we had our fertilizer business that was spun out as a standalone business, but we still have a significant ownership. And all of you know that a major portion of the fertilizer footprint comes from the scope 3 CO2 emissions when you put the fertilizer out in the ground, right? So how do you reduce the scope 3 emissions associated with fertilizer? So those are the four pillars. What excites me the most is, those of you who follow SABIC, is we announced the startup of the first world scale, it's demo scale, but I would say it's pretty close to world scale electrical furnace, which fundamentally goes at solving the CO2 problem I was talking about. And that's in partnership with BASF and Linde, and that started up yesterday at BASF's Ludwigshafen facility.
The firm is only about 6 to 7 years old. And 7 years ago, when we went to start the firm and we went to go ask people about investments, they would ask us all the time, like, materials, like, to do what? And then of course these guys would laugh about that, because like you and I were saying earlier when we were walking down the hall, materials isn't everything that was made, right? You know, and so I'd explain, they'd get that, and then they would say, but little companies, what would they matter? And so what's been great, to answer your question, is in all the topics, agriculture, building materials, transportation, electrification, all things that captured in manufacturing, all these little companies have been started over the last 5 or 6 years, not just because of material impact, but just a general movement that's been going on around some big areas like climate, for example.
Our mission is to feed the world in a sustainable, responsible, and safe way. Not going to get easier. So if you look at the world population, you take the medium fertility scenario, which is the most likely, we're going to have 8.5 billion people by the end of the decade. The upper middle class is going to add another 500 million people. We're getting older and so on. So there's a lot of trends that make that mission a little bit more difficult. And so what I'm excited about right now is the bioeconomy and what we can do to get that off the ground, right? And so the bioeconomy stands sort of on 4 legs. Biopharma, which we're not, but your COVID vaccine, you're probably excited about that. But food, feed, energy, and new materials. And helping in the circularity of the classic plastics and polymers.